If you are tired of praying and feeling like nothing's happening, and you're so tired of just trying and trying, and it feels like nothing's working, and you want to learn how to walk in your God-given authority and actually see things happen, I want you to watch this video. I keep having this recurring vision lately, and when I say vision, I mean it's kind of like a daydream, except I'm not in charge of the movie that's playing, if that makes any sense. But in this vision, I'm up on this balcony, and it's a huge balcony overlooking this kingdom. I'm standing at the edge of the balcony, and I can see the whole kingdom in front of me. Behind me is God sitting on his throne with his crown on his head, and there are angels flanking him on both sides. So God's behind me, but I'm looking forward into the kingdom. And off in the distance at the edge of the kingdom, I start seeing these attacks happening. And in these attacks, there's innocent people being hurt, things are being stolen, things are being destroyed, and I know it's not right. So I start saying things like, we need a hedge of protection around there. We need to get these people to safety. But, you know, just the defensive is not going to be enough. We also need to launch a counterattack. And I'm just shooting off these orders and these commands left and right, speaking to what needs to happen. And as I'm speaking, the angels will look at me, they'll listen to my command, and then they'll turn to look at God. And as they turn to look at him, he will either nod his head or he'll wave his hand, and they will go to do exactly what I said. And I just feel like this paints the perfect picture of what authority in Christ looks like. We have been put in charge of reigning and ruling here on this earth. God gave that assignment to Adam, and it has not changed just because sin entered the world. If anything, it's more important than ever that we actually do our jobs. The thing is, a lot of the times we're praying to God to ask him to do something when he's given us the authority to give the command. But God is sovereign, so it's still up to him whether he nods his head yes or no. Think about the story of Joseph. When Joseph was put in charge by Pharaoh, he was given the king's ring. That means that he had the authority to make decisions as if he were the king himself. Now, Joseph knew that he wasn't the king, and he had learned to steward leadership well because he led in the way that it was in the best interests of those who were ahead of him. So when we walk in our authority, it's not this prideful thing of, oh, I'm just going to go do whatever I want to do because God gave me this power. No. It's walking in humility and saying, I know God entrusted me with this, so I'm going to make sure I do a good job. I'm going to make sure I do my best to carry out his vision for this and his will for this planet. So the next time you're in a situation where you find yourself needing help, needing prayer, instead of asking God to do something, I want you to try speaking to the situation and giving the command. Now, here's the kicker. Don't expect it to happen immediately. Sometimes things take time. In my vision, when I would speak the command and the angels would go out, it wasn't an immediate dissipation of the attack. They still had to fight the enemy. And that also reminds me of the story of Daniel. When Daniel was in prison and he prayed for God to help him, the angel comes to him 21 days later and says, hey, I came as soon as you prayed, but I was held up by the Prince of Persia for 21 days. Expect your prayers to go into effect immediately, but don't expect to see the physical victory immediately. Keep standing, keep contending, keep the faith until you see it happen. I have felt a really big transition lately where I feel like I've gone from learning how to have a relationship with God to learning how to rule and reign and walk in authority with God. But if you're still at the point where you're like, I don't even know how to have a relationship with him, then I want to encourage you with that too. I spent 4 years learning about that, learning how to have a relationship with him, untangling some of those rules that religion had ingrained in me. And I posted about it here on TikTok for all of you to see. You can scroll back and look through all of those videos. But God also had me write it down in this book, 7 Days to a Life of Limitless, How to Ditch the Rules of Religion and Discover Unrestricted Freedom. Now, it's not a big book, but it is meaty because it's everything I learned, everything through that period of time. I talk about how to hear God's voice, how to find your promises for your life, your identity, your purpose, your peace, intimacy with Him, and what the journey's supposed to look like. So if you're really struggling with that and you're just looking for something to help you learn quickly and you don't want to walk through the whole 4-year process that I had to walk through, this may be a good solution for you. You can find copies of it on TikTok Shop, on Amazon, or on my website, yourfriendcaitlin.com.